Okay, let's just do a quick sound check. Hi everyone, thanks for joining. Sounds like the audio's good, that's a good start. Let's just position the camera. Thanks for joining everyone, thanks to the moderators. I'm just going to jump in front of the camera right now. Turn the audio off on the laptop, boom. Okay, here we are. Thought I'd do a bit of a change of scenery today. Normally I'm in front of the Aquascape 1200. It's looking really good, but the lights are off on that right now. So yeah, I'm here in front of my, oh, a bit of a watermark on there. Disappointing. In front of my, I was a Style Line 85. So there is a video on this. In fact, I released 3 videos on my own channel this week, which is a record for me in the last few months. So excited to be able to bring you guys some more content on my own YouTube channel. And yeah, I think it's looking great, isn't it? I've got neon tetras in there, black neon tetras, and these lemon tetras, which is like an orange variety, different species. So they're beautiful. Nearite snails, Amano shrimp, cherry shrimp. All the plants are healthy. Got CO2 injection in there now. So we'll do an update video on this at some point. I really love this. One of my favourite scapes at the moment. And I originally scaped this for the Headspace app. So if you haven't seen the original video all about this, then check it out on my channel. It's one of the more recent videos I've uploaded. Just a quick ramble there. Thank you for joining everyone, and welcome to another community hangout, which I've been doing now for I think this is the 12th week in a row. And the idea is, you know, a lot of us are still on lockdown, and you know, I'm making a commitment to you guys to hopefully every Sunday evening, 7 p.m. my time in the UK, I'm going to be doing this kind of live stream community hangout. It's going to be a bit of a Q&A session and just an opportunity for you guys to chat amongst yourselves. And yeah, I really look forward to this. I get excited by it every weekend, and I really love it as a tool to speak with you guys. You can chat amongst yourselves, and I think we're generating a real nice community here. I'm sure some of you are getting to know each other on the live chat as well, which I think is great. And I would encourage those with more experience on the chat, if they've got questions, that if there's the less experience that need their questions answering, and I'm not answering the question for whatever reason, then the more experienced folk, please feel free to jump in and answer those questions for the guys. And let's just create a really nice community vibe, all focused on obviously aquascaping. So what have I been up to this week? As I've just explained, done 3 videos on my own channel. So I did an update on this tank. I did a lighting review of the new Chihiros RGB Vivid 2 light units, which was very impressive. Have to say the plant growth has been immense this week. So I will do another a kind of longer term review of those lights. I did notice on the replay of that video that the colours aren't quite so real. When you view the video back, it's not a real representation of what you see with your eyes. So I'm going to fiddle around with the light settings, fiddle around with the editing in the next video, and hopefully get a more kind of realistic impression of what you see. A lot of feedback was people preferred the Twin Star 1200, which is good feedback. The reds were definitely more prominent, but we can absolutely shift the colours of these light units on the app. You can put as much red in there, as much blue, as much green, and create almost any kind of spectrum to your desire. So that's an interesting topic. And then I also did a video cinematic special of my little Tropica Aquacube, which is really great. I had great fun filming that. And some exciting news on that front. I have bought, or I'm in the process of buying, this tiny little external canister filter, which I think Horizon Aquatics have just started to stock. Shout out to those guys. I think you guys are watching. And I think it's like the world's smallest external filter. It comes with like a really cute little inlet and outlet as well. So the idea is to actually try that out on the Aquacube. Maybe even add a Tropica nano system, little tiny pressurized disposable CO2 system on there as well. And then I'll do a kind of bit of a review on that and see how it improves the plant growth, because by adding CO2 and extra circulation, I'll probably start dosing fertilizers and we'll just see a much better rate of plant growth in there. So that'll be interesting as well, and give you guys an update on that. You may have seen the Tropica video, which I uploaded to the Tropica channel earlier this week on the Fluval Flex. I did an update on that. That suffered from a bit of a disaster. The Halanthus quadricostatus basically died, or were in the process of dying, and I had loads of brown algae everywhere, and it was looking in a real sorry state. So I did a video on how I kind of overcame those issues. I actually removed all the Halanthium and replaced it with Cryptocorini willisii from the Aquascape 1200. And I did a nice little, I think it was only like a 4-minute video, but I really enjoyed making that for the Tropica channel. Yeah, so it's been a busy week for me. I've also redecorated my daughter's bedroom today. So I was up at half past 5 this morning, did a 5-mile run with my wife and my dog. Just had dinner, and now I'm chatting to you guys. So living the dream, as they say. So as with all the streams we're doing now, I did go on my Instagram this morning and posted a story where you could ask questions. I've picked out the top 5 questions. And again, thank you to everyone that does ask questions. There's some really, really good ones. It's really challenging for me to pick out the top 5. There's a really broad range of great topics that we could talk about. And it may be, I need to come up with another way of answering these great questions maybe. So something to think about there. But thanks to everyone for asking questions on my Instagram. If you don't already follow me, on Instagram, just George Farmer Studios, and I post something pretty much every day, either a story or a post on my feed. So check out. It gives you a kind of insight into what I'm up to in my aquascaping life on a day-to-day basis. So if you're missing me on YouTube, then just check me out on Instagram. So it'd be great to see you over there. So let's dive into the top 5 questions that I've got here right in front of me, hopefully. And yeah, thanks again to everyone that's asked. Yeah, if you are enjoying the content, guys, hit that like button. It does help. It just kind of more likely going to get the video recommended by YouTube, and more people can see aquascaping content, which is always a good thing, of course. So let's start off with these 5 questions. Noah Battat, are there any lessons you learned in the military that you've carried to aquascaping? That's a really interesting one, and I think yes is the answer. And I think probably the biggest thing I learned in my career in the military. So just a bit of a backstory. I was in the Royal Air Force for 14 years. I joined when I was 23 years old, and I joined as a weapons technician, or as an armourer, as they call it. And I had a very kind of diverse role of jobs whilst I was in that career. I did loads of stuff. One of the most exciting things was bomb disposal, which was my last tour of duty in Afghanistan. I've serviced ejection seats for Harrier jump jets. I've worked in an armoury with looking after all the weapons, rifles, pistols, etc. I've worked in an explosive storage area where we looked after loads of heavy weapons for jet aircraft. And what else did I do? I was an instructor as well for weapon systems for Tornado aircraft. So I did a lot of stuff, and I think the biggest kind of lessons that I learned in the Air Force was I did loads of the usual stuff in the military. It teaches you attention to detail, discipline, structure and routine, which are all kind of you can carry forward into any kind of life, aquascaping included. But I think what I really enjoyed and I really kind of carried forward was the leadership training and the management training, which I don't do so much kind of management of people, but I have to manage myself and my own time. And I did a lot of kind of extracurricular activities. I signed up to lots of adventurous training, public speaking courses, just kind of personal development courses, which stand you in good stead for anything in your life. And I think public speaking was really useful, because now I do a lot of public speaking, obviously when I'm not in lockdown, with workshops, etc. So having this confidence in standing in front of anything up to sort of a few hundred people, those public speaking courses really help with that, I guess. And yeah, just the general kind of attention to detail, that's really important with aquascaping, with maintenance and just making sure your aquascape looks good and paying attention to those little minor things, because the thing is with aquascaping, it's all the tiny details, they all add up to make quite a big impact in the overall impression. So that's an interesting, that was an interesting thing, attention to detail. So thanks for the question, Noah Battat. That was a really good one. John Starkey Photography. Hi, mate. I do need to get in contact with you. I'm aware that we've not had a chat yet. Backstory about John, really talented photographer. We've known each other for many, many years. I knew John when he first started out on his journey as an aquascaping hobby. I think he's kind of retired from the hobby, but I think he's going to get back into it soon, hopefully, John. And he's also a very, very skilled landscape photographer. And I knew John before he actually got into photography, and now he's amazing. So check him out on Instagram, John Starkey Photography, really, really talented guy. His question is, thanks for the question, John. What's the most stressful thing whilst I was writing my book? So writing the book was quite stressful, especially at the beginning, because I was so busy on other jobs. So I was traveling a lot, and I had a lot of other projects. I was working with other brands, doing my own YouTube content, and I had to balance that with writing the book. And I found that quite stressful because the type of person I am, I need to be in a certain kind of zone, in a certain sort of headspace to focus on writing. And I found that I just couldn't get into this kind of flow state that I needed when I get into that kind of writing mode, because I was so busy. So that was quite stressful. And it was actually, the corona outbreak, the lockdown, was actually quite a blessing for me in terms of it forced me to stay at home. I couldn't travel anywhere, and it really gave me the opportunity to really focus on the book. So I was spending sort of 3 or 4 hours every morning, deep work. My wife Emma would look after the boys and the housework and do everything basically around the house, which I would normally help out with. But it gave me the opportunity just to fully focus on the book, and the stress levels massively reduced, and I was pumping out thousands of words every day. And I found it quite easy because I just put my noise cancelling headphones in, sit behind my MacBook and just work away, take loads of new photos because I had plenty of aquascapes on the go at once. And that was great. So that's a great question. Thank you, John. Third question, let's just make sure the stream's still working. Yes. We've got Jen Williams in the house. Shout out to Jen. Jen is, let's see if I can, I'm adding Jen Williams as a moderator. So shout out to my moderators. We've got Candy, we've got Lizzie, Lizzie Block, we've got Jimmy Neutron as well, really S Whiskey, super skilled photographer. And we've got Radu as well, my colleague from Tropica. So I've got a really, really strong moderating team. I've just added Jen. A little bit of background about Jen. She is a very, very skilled aquascaper from the States. We're really good friends. We've known each other for about 6 years now. I think we first met at the AGA, Aquatic Gardeners Association convention in Washington, DC. I was the keynote speaker there. And I met Jen and we become really good friends, super talented aquascaper. And yeah, I've just added her as a moderator. So yes, we've got a really, really strong and talented mod team, and I'm really grateful to you guys. So thank you so much. So sorry, I got digressing there. And so the third question we have is from W.A. Scaper. What's the most valuable thing you've learned from aquascaping that I apply to everyday life? This is a really interesting one. And I can kind of switch it the other way around. What's the most important everyday life skills that I can apply to aquascaping, or vice versa? And I mentioned this to Emma, my wife, and she said, I know what you're going to say, delaying gratification. And it is for me, it's like it was a real game changer when I understood how important it is to delay gratification. And, in aquascaping, it is the art, to be able to appreciate delaying gratification, I think is such a great skill that you should use with aquascaping, because it's very rare that you can create a stunning planted aquarium from scratch unless you have access to, mature grown in plants, epic hardscape, and you can create this thing and get instant gratification. For me, it's the process, it's the journey of you know, having the empty tank, planning the tank, obtaining the hardscape, obtaining the plants, planning the layout, planting the layout, watching the layout grow, overcoming algae issues, maybe some plant health issues, overcoming all those. And every time you're doing that, you're kind of delaying the gratification, because the gratification is having, you know, arguably having this end result, you know, this kind of, maybe you want to take a photo for a contest, or you just want this end result, which is a beautiful grown in aquascape. You have to go through all of these kind of hurdles, if you like, overcome all these potential issues, and go on this journey. And I think you can apply that to life. You know, delaying gratification. We live in a society where everything is instantly available, isn't it? You know, on the internet, you can jump on Amazon and get stuff delivered same day or next day. You can jump on Facebook and get a question answered about anything. You know, it might not be the right answer from the community, but you can certainly get feedback. You can jump on Instagram, post a photo, get hundreds of likes. You get this kind of instant gratification, and that's well and good. And I think the internet is a great tool, and I think technology in general is advancing so fast, and we should use it as a tool for improving our lives. But I think there is a risk, and I think as human beings, we are becoming a little bit maybe overly focused on instant gratification. And I think there's a real value to be had from enjoying the journey, from enjoying the challenges, the problems, overcoming them, learning. And, you know, when you do reach that end goal, you know, it's all the more sweeter, you know, because you've worked for it and you've learnt loads of stuff on the way. So that's a really great question. I'm really glad to have the opportunity to ramble on about instant gratification versus delayed gratification. And the last question, number 5, from Timarium01. Where do I see myself in 5 years? This is a really interesting one. So I could talk about myself in 5 years from a career perspective, from a personal point of view, you know, from a kind of, you know, where I am in the world, you know, all this kind of thing. So I'm 43 now, nearly 44, so I'll be nearly 50 in 5 years, which is quite scary. I don't feel like I'm nearly 50. But I absolutely, you know, I'm pretty convinced I'll still be super passionate about aquascaping. You know, where I think about where I was 5 years ago, I'm probably, you know, back then I was passionate about aquascaping, but I'm even more passionate than I am now. I'm more passionate now than I was then. So I'd like to think I'll be even more passionate in 5 years' time. And as I kind of progress on my aquascaping journey on a personal level, I really find I'm getting the best kind of personal value and sense of purpose from using aquascaping as a therapeutic tool. And, you know, I honestly believe it can enrich people's lives on so many levels. And, you know, I've been on a journey myself with mental health issues, anxiety, depression, you know, lots of personal issues, and aquascaping has helped me overcome them. And to the point now where, you know, I really want to make it, I want to promote aquascaping as much as possible, not just because it's of what it is in terms of, you know, a beautiful, the end result of a beautiful aquarium, but actually on a deeper level, the kind of way it can potentially enrich your life, ease any stress, any worries, and give you a unique kind of sense of purpose with your hobby. And whether that's just you and your hobby, you know, almost exclusively, and it's just literally you're not sharing it anywhere in the world, or, you know, on the other extreme, you're using it also as a tool to help others. So I don't know if the guy's watching now, but there's a gentleman, if he is watching, he knows who he is. He emailed me a couple of years ago now, I think, and he said, you know, aquascaping almost saved his life, and now he is he's an up and coming kind of, in air quotes, influencer on Instagram with his aquascaping. And, you know, I think he has at least 2,000-3,000 followers now. He's been growing really, really well, great content. And, you know, without a shadow of a doubt, aquascaping has, you know, really, really helped him on this journey. And I think it can help others too. And I think that's one of the most valuable things that I've been really taken away from it in the last few years. And so going back to the original question, I think in 5 years' time, I'd really like to see that that element of the hobby in terms of the therapeutic value it can add, just develop even more. You know, in terms of kind of milestones, or in terms of kind of where I see how my role within aquascaping and the industry, you know, I had a real kind of highlight recently with the Headspace app. You know, 85 million users. There's going to be a video featuring me and aquascaping on their app soon. I think 17th of June. That was a real big thing, and that has the potential to reach a new audience, and that definitely ticks this box of adding value from a therapeutic side. But I think I'd want to see aquascaping penetrate kind of the more mass markets as well as kind of the Headspace app. But, you know, see it on TV as a series or a documentary. You know, I really think it's such a fascinating hobby, and I think the vast majority of the public would really enjoy that. You know, I've got a kind of captive audience right now. I guess most of you watching are into aquascaping. But if you imagine presenting a beautiful aquascape into the public arena, where probably 99% of the public haven't even heard of aquascaping, but I can almost guarantee if you presented a beautiful aquascape in front of them, they'd be blown away, and they probably would never have conceived that something so beautiful can be created in an aquarium. And I think, you know, there's definitely a gap in the market there for having aquascaping kind of broadcast to a much wider audience through the medium of like on-demand TV, you know, a documentary. I can see it on Netflix or, you know, a BBC documentary. And if there's any TV producers out there watching right now, then get in touch. Tommy's here. You going to come and say hello, Tommy? No, he's a bit shy lately. He's becoming a bit more chilled out about being on camera, aren't you? Yeah. So yeah, I did another bit of a ramble there about where I see myself in 5 years, but hopefully it's answered your question, and thank you very much to Miriam for that. So as usual, that's my 5 questions that I get from the Instagram question that I ask in the morning. Let's dive on over to the live chat now and see who's over there. Thanks for staying with me, guys. 229 of you watching. Happy days. So we've got a super chat. Yeah, thanks for the super chat, mate. Matthias Verkataran. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. If you do, you know, want your question to be guaranteed to be answered, then do drop me a super chat. It just highlights it in my feed here, and then I have, you know, I can definitely see it. Otherwise, I just have to scroll through and kind of pick out, you know, the relevant questions. So Matthias asks, hi George, how many Tropica nutrition capsules would you suggest in a new 45 litre aquascape, and how to deal with fuzz algae? So 2 separate questions there. Thank you for the super chat. So top tip with the nutrition capsules, if it's a new tank and you've not scaped it yet, then use the Tropica Aquarium soil, do a layer of that, and then actually break open the capsules and then sprinkle them on that bottom layer, and then top off that layer with another layer of the soil. I'll probably go for 5 or 6 capsules altogether. If it is an established aquarium and you want to add the capsules, you know, in one go, use tweezers and then put them quite deep into the aquarium, because what can happen is the gelatin kind of shell will dissolve, and those balls can work their way up to the surface of the substrate, and they're super rich in nutrients, and they can kind of maybe potentially trigger algae. So just make sure they're buried quite deeply. But again, I'll go for 5 or 6 nutrition capsules, and just make sure you place them sensibly. You know, obviously place them near the plants that are going to need the most food at their roots. So thanks for the super chat, mate. Really appreciate it. Oh, how to deal with fuzz algae? I think the same way as dealing with any other algae. Just really focus on healthy plant growth. Focus on really kind of strict maintenance practices, big frequent water changes, managing your CO2 appropriately, managing your circulation, and just really focusing on healthy plant growth. And then the algae will naturally just disappear on its own accord. Not a big fan of using chemicals. You know, you could mechanically move as much as possible, scrape it off, or toothbrush or whatever. You could spot dose with Excel or liquid carbon, but I'm not a big fan of, like I said, using chemicals. You could use hydrogen peroxide, which is a little bit less risky, than using liquid carbon. So thanks for the super chat, appreciate it. Deepak Sahi, thank you Deepak. He is a regular, I recognise you and you're a very regular super chat friend, so I do appreciate that. Deepak says, I have a 2-month-old nanoscape. What's the trick behind pearling? Visit New York and I can thank you in person. Absolutely, I'd love to meet you. I'm learning a lot from you. No words to thank you. This has become a weekend pastime for family. That's really great to hear. And I really thank you as well. You know, it's definitely a two-way thing, this. You know, I get as much value and enjoyment out of talking to you guys, and hopefully you get, you know, it's reciprocated. So, you know, first of all, you know, I appreciate the super chat and I appreciate you watching my content, Deepak. The trick behind pearling is basically you need enough light, enough CO2, enough nutrients, and basically the plants need to be photosynthesizing enough in order to producing so much oxygen that the water, the aquarium water, is actually saturated with oxygen, so actually can't hold it. There's so much dissolved oxygen in that water that it can't actually any more can be dissolved. So what happens is the bubbles of the oxygen physically appear on the leaves, and this is what pearling is. But in order to do that, you need a strong amount, normally a strong amount of light, a good amount of CO2, because the light and the CO2 together create this photosynthesis, and then the plants need to be fed well from other food sources, not just the CO2, but they need, you know, good macro and micronutrients. So, you know, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, iron, manganese, magnesium, calcium, boron, and I've missed a few, copper. They actually need copper as well. Yeah, you can do the research, but a good all-in-one liquid fertilizer, which I use now on almost, in fact, I use them on all my tanks now, is the Specialized Nutrition. This contains all of the nutrients that you need, or the plants need, and this is especially good for heavily planted tanks with CO2 injection, because it contains nitrogen and phosphorus as well, which, you know, a low energy planted tank without much light or CO2, those plants can get enough nitrogen and phosphorus from the fish waste or your tap water or both. But once you start to grow the plants more prolifically, they start to demand more nitrogen and phosphorus, so this is when this comes in really handy. And just a little bit of a side story, I was using premium nutrition on my Fluval Flex. If you check out the recent Tropica video that I uploaded, an update on that Fluval Flex, I upgraded from the premium, which doesn't contain the nitrogen and phosphorus, to the specialised, because one of the reasons the plants were dying was, I believe, they didn't have enough access to nitrogen and phosphorus. So there we go, a bit of a sidetrack for you. Thanks for the super chat, Deepak, really appreciate it. Seb Butcher, hi Seb, I recognise you as well, thank you, another regular contributor. Were you already a fish keeper when I discovered scaping, or was it scaping first? PS, buy a Wi-Fi extension lead to avoid leaving the lights on. Yes, thank you very much, appreciate that feedback. I was a fish keeper very briefly before I discovered the work of Takashi Amano. I show you this book every live stream normally, but I'm not ashamed to show you it again. Just bear with me a second. So I think I was keeping fish for probably only a year or two. And then I got bought this for, I think it was a Christmas present. And then I thought, oh, this is lovely. And I opened it up and I was just like, wow, you can do that in an aquarium. All these beautiful, healthy plants, no algae. You know, fish aren't the main kind of focal point in here. It's all about this beautiful balance, you know, this beautiful slice of nature. And that was it. That started my journey. I became obsessed with aquascaping, and in particular nature aquarium style aquascaping from Takashi Amano. And that was how it all started. And shortly after, I became so obsessed, I became super active on all the forums. I just became a sponge of information. And I was going over to the American forums, learning from folk like Tom Barr, going on to Aquatic Plant Central, the Barr Report, plantedtank.net. And first of all, I was becoming like a massive consumer of stuff. And then as my skills started to progress, I became more of a creator, contributor. And then I kind of got spotted by PFK magazine and started writing articles for them. and then that co-founded the UK Aquatic Plant Society, and then, long story short, made aquascaping my full-time career, and here we are now. And that, all credit, to that book right there. That's what started it all going. So, super sad that Takashi Amano unfortunately passed away in 2015. One of my life's biggest regrets is not ever meeting him, because hand on heart, he is the massive inspiration behind what I do now, and behind, the vast majority of planted tank aquascaping you see out there in the world today is, 99% of it is probably, inspired by the legend that is Takashi Amano. There's a few caveats there. You have the Dutch style of aquascaping, which is very formalised, neat rows and neat textures and colours, etc. And you have biotope aquascaping as well. But even some of those kind of high-level biotope aquascapes, a lot of them are drawing inspiration, I would argue, from Takashi Amano's nature aquarium philosophy. So thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the super chat, Seb. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And I'll look at getting a Wi-Fi controller. I am hopefully getting a Felix Smart soon. So they are in production. They are I think they're getting shipped as we speak. So yeah, you can look forward to some Felix Smart content. Shout out to Felix. I do support the channel. I am, a massive ambassador for Felix. I was involved with the original kind of promotion of it. And so hopefully there'll be some more Felix news coming on the channel soon. So let's jump in. There's no more super chats right now. So let's jump into some... oh, we've got another one. Felix Davies, speaking of Felix. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. John Starkey I have the complete works. John Starkey actually gave me another Takashi Amano book. So super grateful to John for that as well. Thank you. Felix Davies, thanks for the super chat. I was wondering what bubble per second I would normally recommend for a 25-litre aquarium. Thanks, love your work, stay safe. Felix, thank you so much. Stay safe to you, my friend. For a 25-litre aquarium, see, the thing is with bubble counts, it's really hard to give you a definitive number, because there's lots of variables. Different bubble counters have different size bubbles, for instance. If you have lots of surface agitation, you're going to need more CO2. If you have more plants and more light, you'll need more CO2, and obviously vice versa. So it's hard for me to give you a definite figure, but I would start with a 25 litre, I'll probably start with one bubble every 3 seconds, and then see how your plants do with that, and then gradually boost it up if you needed, or if you're finding that's too much CO2, if your livestock are showing kind of CO2 intoxication symptoms like loss of appetite, not quite as active as they usually are, then dial back your CO2. You could always invest in a CO2 drop checker, which is a very kind of quick reference method on just gauging how much CO2 you've got in there. So just Google CO2 drop checker. I have got a video on how to test your CO2 level, so check that out as well. And there is a chapter in my book dedicated to CO2 injection as well, so you can check that out when it comes out. But yeah, start off with one bubble every 3 seconds, I would say, and then go from there. But just, a little caveat, just bear in mind your livestock, the shrimp and fish, etc. Their welfare is paramount. CO2 is potentially dangerous. With too much, it is toxic. So best to err on the side of caution. Start off with too little, and then gradually ramp it up until you want to be getting about 30 parts per million, which you can kind of measure with the CO2 drop checker, or you can use a pH, KH test kit, or you can use the pH differential method. So if you Google any of those things, you can figure out hopefully how to test your CO2. Thanks for the super chat, mate, appreciate it. We've got a missed super chat. I do apologise, thank you Candy for pointing that out. Orby Orbs, $4.99 super chat, thank you so much. Assuming no fish, is more CO2 better for plant growth? Can too much CO2 actually cause more algae? Thanks George for all the great content. Thanks Orby Orbs for the super chat and the question. Basically no, if you've got no livestock, you can just crank that CO2 right up. The plants are just going to grow better. If you think about plants in nature, about 95% of aquatic plants actually prefer to grow out of water. And actually they use the CO2 in the air, and they use loads of it compared to with underwater. So the more CO2 you add, basically, the better. There is a little risk if you have so much CO2, you might have a very, very low pH and the plants might not react very well to that. But even said, I've seen planted tanks with pH of 5.0 with a soil substrate, a very, very low KH of like 0.5 or 1 degree, 50 plus parts per million CO2, and the plants have been absolutely fine. So if you do want to grow your plants very quickly, then definitely crank up the CO2. If everything is in balance and you're feeding the plants with enough other nutrients as well, algae won't be an issue. The more CO2 you have, the more nutrients you have, the more growth you're going to get. The more plant growth you get and the healthier that plant growth is, the less risk of algae you get. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question, and thanks for the super chat, my friend. My good friend, New Mexico Aquatics, Little Bobby. Do you have any experience with goodies? I don't know how to pronounce it, but I know the fish you mean. I haven't, I'm afraid, so that's an easy one for you, mate. No, I've no experience with them. I don't think I know anyone that has. So do your research, mate, and let me know how you get on. Michael Largent, hi Michael, good friend of mine as well. Any way of getting an autographed copy of the new book? So there's going to be a couple of options. There's going to be an option for retailers to buy the book from a wholesaler, and then potentially, I would like to be able to do some kind of world tour and do book signings at various stores around the world. So that'll be an opportunity to get your book signed there. And I'd really love to meet you, Michael, as well. I remember that original video you sent me probably a couple of years ago now, of your beautiful home. So yeah, it'd be really great to meet you. But another kind of more accessible way, I guess, is I am planning to buy myself lots of copies, and then that will give me an opportunity to sign them and then send them on to people that want to buy them directly from me. It's very tentative details at the moment, so I can't give too much away, but just stay tuned, try to be patient. I appreciate that we've got still a few months to go, but as the book release date comes up, I will be releasing more kind of finer details. So thanks for the question, mate. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to start off from just random questions that I see popping out at me. Okay, Dean Robinson, another good friend of mine. I'm waiting on an EA Aquascaper 900, good choice, and changing from my current Tropical Flex to EI form. APF, from APF. Should the starter kit suffice as recommended instructions? Yes. So it really depends on, with EI, you need good plant growth basically. So good lighting, good CO2, and then you could just follow the EI kind of standardized method, and that shouldn't be a problem. Just make sure you keep up those water changes and you should be fine. Okay, good question from Amateur Aquatics, my friend Peter Roscoe. He's got his own YouTube channel, so check him out, Amateur Aquatics. He's from Hungary, but he's actually an English guy from Liverpool area. If you had to pick a style of scape and you could only use that style going forward, what would I pick? It would be classic nature aquarium style. That is my... Sorry, I'm moving the rug, which is attached to my tripod. I do apologise. Yeah, it'd be classic nature aquarium style. You know the style. Something like my 1200, something like this. Classic foreground, midground, background, nice hardscape, epiphyte plants, jobs are good in. It's a proven performer. It's not stretching me creatively so much, but it's what I love. It's what I enjoy. It's a very accessible style of aquascaping. There's a lot of room for error. There's a lot of kind of wiggle room in terms of creativity. So this is my favourite style because it's easy for me to create and promote to beginners and newcomers, and that is kind of my passion is to make aquascaping more accessible especially to beginners, because it's such a beautiful hobby, and it can be quite overwhelming for folk if they see a super complex diorama style scape with all these like really tiny little twigs and mosses, etc. And the guys have spent months creating this hardscape, painstakingly smashing rocks up and gluing them together and creating little bonsai trees, etc. Beautiful to look at, super high impact, absolutely stunning, but not necessarily easily repeatable by beginners or less experienced hobbyists. So, that's the classic nature aquarium. You're talking sort of early 2000s style from Amano. That's the kind of style that I love, and that's the style that I will probably always love. I will do a diorama at some point, probably, just to kind of stretch my own skills and learn. It's important to stretch ourselves, of course, otherwise we never really develop, creatively. But yeah, great question. Thank you, Peter. George, do I know if the last book by Amano is still available anywhere, please? The one his daughter finished. Yeah, pretty sure. I can't remember the actual name of it. I think it's called The Origin of Creation. So, Origin of Creation, Takashi Amano. If you just Google that, maybe Candy can do a quick Google for us. Origin of Creation by Takashi Amano. If it's not available in the UK, you might have to import it from another country, but I'm sure Amazon can sort you out there. Okay, we've got a bit of a technical question here. See if I can answer this from the top of my head. William Spencer, in a tank which has a pH of 6.5 and a GH between 1 and 4, would CO2 benefit? Would it be suitable at current pH levels? Yes. Yeah, it's a bit of a kind of a myth that low KH causes massive pH crashes, etc. I do recommend the Advanced Aquarist, or the 2-Hour Aquarist by Dennis Wong, and he has got a whole article dedicated on low KH tanks, and low pH is not causing an issue in planted aquariums. So I would definitely go for it. Go for CO2 injection even with a low KH and low pH. Especially if you have a soil substrate, because what the soil does, it actually can help buffer the pH even with a very low KH. So I definitely recommend the soil anyway in any planted aquarium, because they just help feed the plant roots and they just create a healthier, kind of more stable aquarium environment. So yeah, go for it. Let me know. Let me know how you get on. Michael Rojas, hello George. Is there a difference between rinsing biomedia in old aquarium water versus new dechlorinated water? Thanks. In theory, no. I mean, the idea behind dechlorinating the water is just to avoid the chlorine destroying any beneficial bacteria. So that's the reason we use old aquarium water. If you wanted to use dechlorinated tap water, it should have the same impact on old aquarium water. So yeah, I don't think there's much difference there. This is a good one. Darren DeRoos, how can we stop leaves from dropping off when in transition to a new tank without CO2, or do I just have to deal with it? Thanks, George. Thanks, Darren. Couple of things there. So if we look at the cause of the leaves dropping off to start with, when you buy a plant, it's going to be grown in different conditions to your aquarium. Whether it's been growing outside in a greenhouse or growing in another aquarium underwater, the conditions are going to be different. And depending on how different those conditions are, will largely depend on how much that plant struggles. So sometimes it's just something you have to accept, unfortunately, depending on, like I said, those difference in water parameters. You can kind of mitigate the risk by buying a really healthy plant to start with. Tissue culture plants, if you buy them fresh, these are, I definitely recommend the Tropica 1-2 grow range. In my experience, these have the least trouble adapting because they've been grown in a nutrient-rich jelly or nutrient-rich liquid, and they're readily adapted to grow underwater. They've got a big kind of nutrients, they've been grown in this nutrient jelly, so they're really ready to get going in your aquarium. So that would be my recommendation. If you have to buy a plant that's been grown submersed underwater, then from another tank, then it's really going to struggle because that plant's adapted to grow underwater in another kind of water chemistry environment. You put it into your water chemistry environment and that plant is really going to struggle. The plant is actually less likely going to struggle if you buy it in its immersed state, so it's out of water state. So when a shop gets its plants direct from the greenhouse, the vast majority of those plants are grown immersed, so they're grown out of water hydroponically. And actually that makes them more adaptable to growing underwater than buying a plant that's been grown underwater already. Hopefully that makes sense. It's quite a complex topic. I'm going to plug my book again. I do a separate chapter on how to choose plants and the benefits of tissue culture versus emerged versus submerged plants. So yeah, I'll go into a lot of detail on that in the book as well. Okay, we've got a super chat, apologies. Andy Myers, hello mates, really great guy. And I think he's just recently bought a Schnauzer puppy, miniature Schnauzer puppy. I can't remember his name, Ojo, or let us know, AD, such a cute little miniature Schnauzer. Obviously being a miniature Schnauzer owner ourselves, we adore them. And when they're puppies, they're too cute for words. Anyway, I'm digressing. Andy M, $9.99 super chat, thank you very much, very generous. Upped the budget this week to include the postage for that trimmed stem last week. Nice grey t-shirt. Have I ever kept a hardscape and replanted with totally different plants for a new look? I think I'm missing the point about a postage for the trimmed stem last. I think I'm supposed to send you something I forgot. Sorry, mate. Just inbox me and we'll sort it out. Have I ever kept a hardscape and replanted with totally different plants for a new look? Yes, I have. I did an iwagumi. You might remember Project Cree, and it was a 60 centimetre tank, and it was a white sand substrate with just hair grass in the background, and it was a really good layout. Very, quite when I say famous, that sounds a bit egocentric. It was a well-known layout from about 2011, and it did really well in some contests. One of my favourite iwagumis that I've ever created. And then I actually completely replanted it. So I put stems in there, put some crypts, but kept the stones exactly the same. So I have done that, and it does change. I went from a clear background to a black background, changed the fish, changed the plants, completely new look. So, and I'd recommend you do the same, mate. I know you've got a beautiful Aquascape of 1500. So yeah, check it out. I think it's the same AD that I'm thinking of. Otherwise, I've just gone completely randomly about miniature schnauzers and stuff like that. I do apologise. Hi Mary, I hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a great day too. Thank you so much for all your support on the comments. Josh Keyworth, George, I use neorites in all my planted tanks, but they sometimes leave the aquarium because they have an open top. They get out and die. Do you know what causes this? I don't actually know what causes it. Thankfully, I've had very, very few climb out of my aquariums. It might be CO2, they might not like the CO2, or your water might be a bit soft. I guess they're just trying to get to a better environment that they feel more comfortable in. But yeah, it's a tricky one. Got a couple more super chats. Thank you so much, guys. James Dyer, getting close to 1,000 followers on Instagram. Thanks for the advice on how to start. How often do I clean my inline diffuser? Fish Talk. You're welcome, Fish Talk. Glad to hear your Instagram's going well. I just use a hose brush. So I think I have one here. Here, so this is a 12mm hose brush. I think this is actually an ADA one. And so, yeah, this is ideal for a 12mm inline diffuser. I don't actually use any chemicals. The good news about an inline CO2 diffuser, it doesn't get any algae in there because there's no light penetrating the ceramics inside. So it just gets clogged up with a little bit of kind of organic waste build-up. So just use a hose brush, poke it in and out, as they say. And that cleans it off, no problem. Thanks for the super chat, mate. I think I missed another super chat. Michael Crawford, have I got any plans for any riparium scapes, mosses and immersed plants? I have to confess no at the moment, but it's something that I need to do. I'm aware, you know, it's an interesting one. The paludarium and the riparium hobby is growing really, really big. And I'm kind of missing a trick. You know, Yuri's is doing a lot of this stuff on his channel now. The Green Aqua guys are. And it does look beautiful. This kind of out of water versus underwater combination looks absolutely stunning. I just need to do it. I've actually got a system in the garage that I just haven't got out yet, an ADA system. So yeah, I just need to get motivated enough to do it, I guess. So thanks for the super chat, appreciate it. Oh, I am doing a boil bear soon. I've got a boil bear and it's empty right now for a rescape that I'm doing not next week, the week after, with Scape Nature. So shout out to Ray if he's watching. So we're going to be doing a kind of double act, if you like. He's going to scape one and I'm going to scape one, and we'll do it together. And so you can expect some terrarium content on the channel soon, but not paludarium, unfortunately, or riparium. Yeah, boil bears are amazing, yeah. Really like the boil bear. Vladimir, why did I start with aquascaping? Just because I loved it. I love this connection with nature that it provides. It's really unique. Always loved aquariums ever since I was a kid. Always fancied keeping an aquarium. And then, yeah, just discovered aquascaping and this kind of unique sense of nature you can bring into your living space. I love the maintenance. I love the planning. I love the fish. You know, I love watching the plants grow. I love the trimming. I even love the water changes now. So yeah, it's just everything about aquascaping. That's why I love it so much. Oh, Deepak Sahi, did he get your last super chat? I don't think so. So sorry, Deepak. I think it looks like I've missed a super chat out. Here we are. Sorry, mate. Deepak Sahi, thank you again. Which external canister filter do I recommend for a 6.8 gallon that looks nice as well on a desk? Yeah, I mean, most external canister filters don't look pretty. If you've got the budget, you know, the ADA Super Jets are really nice. You could get the really small one. I think they do like a tiny one now, a 150. That would look quite nice. There is a really, I mean, I've got the, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't see there, can you? I'll open that right up. Can you see there? So open that up. You can just about see my Oase Filto Smart here. You know, it looks better in a cupboard, shall we say. But it's a great filter. Yeah, tricky. ADA are probably your best bet. You know, stainless steel, but they are super expensive. But Yuri's, I did an unboxing live on his channel recently, and Horizon Aquatics have just started stocking it. It's this tiny little external, but I'm not sure if it will be even big enough for a 6.8 gallon because it is so small. The other option is a hang on the back filter, so it's not actually taking up much room in the tank itself, and it hangs on the back, so it's kind of out of sight. So that's another kind of top tip for you, mate. Thank you again for the super chat. You're so generous. Patrick Bleak Kendall, thank you so much. Hey George, I love your videos. Thank you very much. We have 128 litre Twin Star 600S at 70% for 6 hours. CO2 injection. What's the definition for a medium or high tank? We have green spot on the glass, and glass we at 2 mil Tropica green. Okay. I would suggest actually you're only kind of medium there, medium light, because you're at 70%, 128 litres, you know, is a kind of medium sized tank. The Twin Star 600S is 45 watts. So you're looking at medium there. I would suggest the green spot on your glass is, if you're getting it like regularly, if you're cleaning your glass every week and you're getting the build up every week, it's probably a plant growth or a nutrient issue. So maybe up your dosage of your fertilizer. Think about where your tank is. Is it getting a lot of kind of natural light as well? That can trigger algae on the glass. I would counterintuitively try adding more light, ramp it up to 100% for 8 hours. Make sure you're heavily planted. If you haven't already, add some really fast growing stem plants, and make sure your tank is really heavily planted, and that will really help deal with your algae. Up your fertilizers to say, I would say probably 6 to 8 millilitres a day. Do big frequent water changes and then see how you get on. So sometimes counterintuitive, you're adding more light. The heavy, if you've got, especially if you've got loads of plants, good CO2, good nutrients, the plants can actually really kind of get the upper hand with the algae, if that makes sense. So good luck, and thank you for the super chat. Geordie Scaper, hey George, how many tanks am I aiming at in the GFS gallery? I'm not gonna have any more. I've got 6 now. I've got the Fluval Flex, the Tropical Aqua Cube, the Style Line 85, the Style Line 125, the Aquascape 1200, and the High Line 175 cichlid tank. So I'm not having any more because even though I'm at home all of the time, I still have to use Harrison, my stepson, to maintain them because I'm so busy working on other projects. I will no doubt start travelling again soon when the lockdown's lifted. So there's just no capacity for me to have any more, unfortunately. But I think that's enough. 6. Thanks for the super chat, mate. And check out Geordie Scaper YouTube channel. There's some great content on there. Missed super chat from Mark Dorr. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Ever considered releasing GF aquascaping tools? No, not really. There's so many tools out there. There's no USP really with tools. You've got scissors, tweezers, and different variations on those. So it doesn't really make sense to have my own branded tools. I'd have to be competing with brands that I work with, which is, obviously a bit of an issue. If I did have my own line of products, it would have to be something like really unique and really quite special, and obviously not conflicting already with some brands that I work with. So yeah, I did kind of have my own brand to an extent with the Aquascaper. That was a collaboration with Evolution Aqua. Super proud of that brand. I had a 2-year contract with them, and released successfully a brand new range of beautiful aquariums, glassware, fertilizers. So really proud of that. And it kind of gave me some experience, learnt from it. I'm just really happy with what I'm doing now, working closely with brands that I really like and respect, and the feeling's mutual, and just creating my own kind of individual content, writing books. I want to do some more writing in the future for magazines. I have kind of missed that. I did used to contribute every month for about 10 years almost for Practical Fish Keeping magazine. So, probably look at doing some more writing again. But yeah, no, thanks for the question, mate. Thanks for the super chat. But yeah, not really something I'm into right now, branded equipment. Maybe, this is a good one from Past the Dirt Road. Maybe a signature series red colander. That is a great idea. Yeah. Do I have any sneak peeks on the book? I'm really excited by it. Oh, I could show you the contents very quickly. I'm sure the publishers won't mind. I'm just going to flash up the contents page. There we go. Let's do it as a 2-page view. Page display, 2-page view. Oh, that's not working. There we go. Okay, I can't actually see if you can see that or not. But there's the content. So we've got 10 chapters, and then we've got conclusion, frequently asked questions, acknowledgements, photograph credits, links and sources, additional information about the author, appendix. The appendix has actually got 5 step-by-steps, and then we've got top 40 plant species and a complete plant species list as well. And the chapters are how to get started, lighting, filtration, circulation and heating, feeding aquarium plants, the importance of carbon dioxide, how to aquascape, hardscape, choosing, preparing and maintaining your plants, how to choose your fish, shrimp and snails, and maintenance. So there you go. That's the book. Order your coffee now. Super exciting. I've got the final kind of design, and now it's a case of captioning all the photos, and then actually just jigging around with the photos, having a few double page spreads, a few full size photos on pages. All the text has been written, and now it's a case of coming up with those kind of final touches to the actual book design, which very grateful to have a lot of input into that as well. So super grateful and super excited to get it. My wife has actually ordered a copy herself, which is funny because I'm probably going to buy a couple hundred copies myself to give away. I've probably got about 100 copies to give away to various friends, etc., that have helped me over the years. And then I'll probably have 100 in stock to use as gifts and signed copies, etc. But yeah, super exciting. I'm digressing again. Sorry about that. Yeah, Jimmy Gimbel and John Starkey, you two should definitely check out each other's work. I'm sure you'll be super impressed. Two of my favourite people and two of the most talented photographers that I know, actually. So, yeah, super great. You know, I love photography. I'm going to digress a bit now, but you know, I got into photography because of aquascaping. So I started writing for Practical Fish Keeping magazine, and my first few articles, I didn't actually use my own photos because I didn't have an SLR camera, and then I thought, well, I should really look at getting a digital SLR camera. So I bought a second-hand one, and then learnt photography, and then actually really got into photography as a completely separate topic. You know, I've done some wedding photography. I really love portrait photography, landscape photography, obviously aquarium photography, and actually aquarium and aquascaping photography is one of the most challenging styles, I would suggest, because of the reflections, trying to capture really fast moving things in less than favourable light conditions sometimes. So yeah, it's taught me a lot, photography and aquascaping actually go really nicely hand in hand with composition, use of light and shade, contrast, textures, colours, balance. Yeah, really interesting. I'm digressing. Okay, we're at the hour point now, guys. 183 likes. If we get to 200 likes, I'll stay on for another 5 or 10 minutes. Let's see how we go. There's 290 of you watching right now. That's super grateful to you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for the support. I really appreciate everyone. Yeah, I'm a Canon shooter at the moment. I was toying with the idea of going over to Sony because their video, their cameras for video are generally better than Canon, I would argue, or a lot of people would argue. But I love the Canon user interface. I've been using Canon for probably 20 years now, and yeah, I'm just so embedded in that. You know, definitely a Canon and Apple user at the moment, but who knows what the future might hold. So yeah. Okay, we've got 200 likes. Okay, let's answer 3 more questions, and I'll do a bit of a cheerio to everyone, and then yeah, I'll see you all soon. So, I'm so glad Jimmy Gimbel and John probably got a bit of a bromance gonna establish there. That's great. David Scapes, thanks for the super chat last minute. How about a joint venture to make more Tropica nano tanks like yours, but GFA signature edition? I think that would be a hit. That's not a bad idea. And if Radu's watching, it's something that's not, off the card. So watch this space. I can't guarantee anything. But if I did collaborate with any brand on, a really tiny nano tank, then it'd have to be Tropica or Awase. I do use Awase for aquariums the vast majority of the time now, and filtration, and obviously my plants and plant care products, soil, tools, fertilizers, etc. are Tropica. So yeah, really grateful to work with those brands, and yeah, that would be super cool to have a branded little tiny nano tank. I mean, the Aquacube is so beautiful, but they were so expensive. I think they were about £250 when they were released, and it only holds 8 litres, but it's made of crystal. It's actually a solid chunk of crystal rather than panes of glass that have been silicon together. So yeah, great suggestion. Thank you so much. Okay. MH Aquatics, thank you for the question, mate. What is the one and only tool I could not scape without? It has to be the red colander. Had that since I pretty much started fish keeping. Use it, of course, to fill up the vast majority of my aquascapes. I've taken it all over the world with me. It's been over to the States, it's been all over Europe, obviously been over the UK, and almost any new aquascape, I like to use it. So it's become a massive icon, really, of my brand. You know, I've even got the keep on shout out to Moss Cotton, in fact. Check them out. In fact, all my comments, all my pinned comments have got the link to the Moss Cotton if you want to buy really cool t-shirts from my good friend Yuri's. Check out that. I've got the Keep on Scaping t-shirt with the Moss Cotton, with the red colander on it. So if you want to become a true kind of George Farmer fan, then get the red colander t-shirt. Oh my God, I've just got a 200 quid super chat. That is, I'm blown away. I hope you haven't sent that by accident, Mike. Get in contact privately if you hit the 0 by accident there. Evening, George. Thanks for cheering up the lockdown with these chats. Well, thank you very much for that. That's massively appreciated. And I'll put that to good use. And yeah, that's so generous. I'm a bit shocked by that. That's incredible. Thank you. What a legend. Last of the Corinthians, 1878. Keep on scaping in the free world. Yeah, it is a free world at the moment, isn't it? I think. Yeah, I'm just a bit lost for words with that super chat. More likes to get to the 250. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna say a last little cheerio and a little bit of a final word to you guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this one tonight. I've had really great fun. It's been nice to have a bit of a change sitting in front of the Awase Style Line 85. Do check out the video that I made on this for the Headspace app. Did loads of nice cinematic B-roll in it, some nice music. I will do an update video on it as well. Yeah, and just enjoy your aquascapes, guys. You know, a lot of us are still on lockdown, but it gives us more opportunity to spend more time with our aquascapes. You know, we live in a society where, you know, a lot of media is based on sensationalism and fear creating, and you know, aquascaping, I think, takes us away from that. You know, we're living in a digital age where, you know, our phones are constantly giving us notifications. It puts us into this kind of fight or flight state all the time. But aquascaping can really kind of just level us and bring us down, you know, and just maybe try and put your phones away for a couple of hours and just chill out in front of your tank, maybe do some more maintenance on the tank, and just zone out. Use your aquariums, use your aquascapes to enrich your lives, to create this kind of therapeutic environment for you and your family and your friends, if you allow friends around in your home. And yeah, just enjoy it, guys. Enjoy the hobby. You know, it's a beautiful hobby. I'm so blessed and grateful to be able to do this and bring you content. You know, these live streams are really important to me. I really appreciate you watching them. I really look forward to doing them every Sunday for an hour or so. And yeah, it's one of the highlights of my week, I have to say, and I'm really grateful to you all for watching. So I'll end on that note. I hope you're all well. I hope you're staying safe. I hope your family and loved ones are safe as well. I know a few of you watching right now are struggling with a few things. I just wanted to say that I'm thinking of you guys, and you know, just stay strong and reach out to people when you need to. And yeah, I'll leave it there. You take care. Keep on scaping. See you next week. Cheerio. Bye-bye.